Our theme here is political ethics. We've talked a bit about social ethics in general. Political ethics can be seen as one kind of ethics within the field of social ethics. Ethics is the academic discipline that thinks about and investigates the moral nature of people and collectivities and the choices, individual and social, that are made by institutions and groups of many kinds, and the policies and decisions of governments of various kinds. Thus, when a car mechanic uses the term good to describe a car, he or she is describing characteristics of the engine and design that make the car run well. But when an ethicist describes a person as good, he or she is referring to the moral nature of that person. Unless, of course, he or she is describing a good speaker or a good swimmer, which are, like the car description, non-moral uses of the term good. Generally, one knows one has come across the moral dimension of things when one hears words like good in some contexts, as we have seen, or bad, or right, or wrong, or responsible and irresponsible, and so forth. And generally, we have been taught since early childhood to know and to recognize and even to learn how to behave as a good boy or a good girl, or later a good citizen, and so forth. But although moral assessment and evaluation is more complex than the example of being a good boy or a good girl suggests, even this example involves complex interactions and learning that is both implicit and explicit. And while many characteristics will be the same, there will be some variation from culture to culture, or place to place, or among different religions in the list of what attributes make up a good boy or a good girl. In some cultures, for example, a good girl or boy stays quiet and does not question adults. In other cultures, like my own, children are taught that it is good to pose questions even to adults. And I am sure you can think of your own culturally different examples. What then does it mean to be a good person? When talking about good people, does one mean mostly the character of the person, or mostly decisions that the person makes? Is the goodness we see, or the lack of it, to be assessed by the goals that are to be reached, as in the utilitarian approach to ethics, or the moral principles that one serves and is loyal to, independently of their consequences? Social ethics asks these same questions, but in slightly different ways, appropriate to institutions, groups, national policies, and so on, instead of applying them specifically to individuals. So now that we know what ethics is and what social ethics is, we need to know also what we mean by politics. The details of the definitions vary, and you can look them up yourself. Roughly speaking, politics, as we mean it here, is the process of exerting power or influence of other kinds, money, for example, on the actions or formulations of policy of government or other kinds of organizations. Thus, you can see that political ethics pertains to the moral assessment and analysis of the processes involved in the doing of politics, and also pertains to the moral assessment of the goals or ends of the policies produced through the political process.